Let's take a closer look at the double grind of the EX04 and other types of grinds and why we went ahead and did a double grind on this particular model. If you want to get a really sharp, keen edge, okay, nothing beats a razor blade. And a razor blade is very thin and it comes down to 0. Okay, cross section is thin and it's just one straight continuous taper down to 0. And that's why we're able to shave hair, hair popping with the razor blade. The problem with the razor blade is that the tip is extremely fragile, okay, and it dulls very quickly. We could also go with a flat grind V. It has a sharpened cutting edge, which a lot of the ABS smiths will use on their buoys and choppers. Really beefs up the tip, the cutting edge, because you have a lot more meat right here. You get that long taper, okay, for nice easy cuts and slashes. If you want to try to keep closer to the 0 edge, okay, you go this route, alright, you can't really go ahead and go from the very top all the way down to 0, because then you're back to here. You have a delicate edge. And you can see from the photo, the angles are more open right on this one right here versus this one. Now that also, it all depends on the width of your blade. Okay? If this is like, and the thickness of your blade. If this was a 1/4 inch thick stock and this was 1.4 inches, yeah, that's going to be really thin at your cutting edge. That's why a lot of the guys will go this route. Beef it up. This would be about maybe 20 thousandths thick there. Okay? But if you're looking for the 0 or trying to get your cutting edge a lot thinner, you're going to have to bring your bevel almost mid-height to get your angles open up a little bit more so you have more meat. Alright. What's the problem with this? Well, if you have a blade width and you grind halfway up, you have a lot of dead space up here. A lot of dead space. What we want to try to get the cutting edge as close to 0 as we can. We have limitations through manufacturing. This cross section is about, I think it's about 8 thousandths to 10 thousandths. Okay, that's pretty thin for a knife. Then like I mentioned earlier on, we have a lot of dead space up here. And it's thick. Alright, so what's going to happen is when you're cutting something, it's going to feel like you're trying to push an axe through whatever material you're cutting because of the wedge. This thickness right here is just going to wedge your material. So what we've done is we would come in and do a secondary bevel like that, making the cross section here thinner, but not so thin where you have a fragile blade. This way, while you're cutting material, it hits a dead spot, air, kind of like the Viking fullers on their swords. Vikings had a fuller in their sword. It helped on strength, acting like an I-beam, but at the same time, as they were cutting something, It hit a dead spot. There's no drag. Nothing to drag up here on these flats. So that's your double grind. And that's the reason why we put it on the Hogue EX04 models, both the upswept and the Warncliffe design.